Hey there, and welcome to the Overcomers Overcoming Podcast. It is great to have you join us. This podcast series features those who have gained victory over a life encounter. With that life experience, we encourage those who are experiencing something that might seem to be insurmountable. We advance and encourage others by passing forward evaluated life experiences. We have three objectives in this podcast series. We want to encourage those who are engaged in any type of life encounter by offering to walk with you to help you gain victory over anything that might seem impossible. We want to share our experience to help you. Our second objective is to help you develop a confident resolve that there are multiple options to get past any life obstacle. It's a matter of thinking into the situation. Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you are facing a dilemma resulting from a previous decision you wish you could reverse, we want to help you think into all of the facts and factors involved in making an informed decision. I'm Ron Cooper, founder of the Cooper Culture. I'm with my wife and business manager, Marty. Together, we are the Cooper Culture Company who is sponsoring this podcast series. Today, we feature Gina Uricchio, Allie's mom. Allie is autistic, and Gina has adapted to Allie. Gina has discovered Allie's artistic talents. Gina knows, but is continuously adapting to Allie, her likes, her dislikes, and we're learning from Gina that Allie and many autistic children, two things. The autistic children are very unique. There may only be one Allie in this world. There may not be another one like her. Every other autistic child is very unique. The other thing is they're continuously changing, and we need to learn how to adapt to autistic children. It is a fascinating podcast. Marty, what are some takeaways our listeners can gain from Gina?
Ron, I'm glad we connected with Gina, and she was willing to do a podcast with us because she is a mother that's gone through it. She has a wealth of information, and I feel like there are many parents out there, grandparents, relatives that would like to know how to help an autistic family and even the child that is autistic to help them feel accepted and loved. So the more podcasts we have that we learn from Gina, I think will be great.
It's a great learning opportunity with the possibility of having a dedicated focus to autistic children. Let's listen and learn together. Gina, thank you so much for joining our audience. You have a daughter, Allie, who I believe I understand is about 25 years old. She has been diagnosed being autistic. Many of our listeners have autistic children, and if we don't have autistic children, I think many of our listeners want to know more about autism. I'm going to give you Marty's and my personal opinion. Autism is a diagnosis. It is not a learning disability. People who are autistic merely process the world a little bit differently than those who are not autistic. They're very capable, very smart. It is our opinion. We who are not autistic need to adapt to and understand those who are autistic such that we can communicate with them in the ways they process information. Gina, I make that introduction for you and our listeners. Welcome. It is going to be great to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Gina, describe to whatever level of detail you want, Allie, autism, and your life as the supermom of an autistic child.
Absolutely. I was pregnant with Allie when I was 30 years old. Allie is my husband, John, and I's first child. She went through a very, very simple pregnancy. There were no issues. We had a lovely time. Allie was born and life was beautiful, and she was beautiful herself. And she was that firstborn child that you sort of just watched her in the cradle or watched her back and forth all day. And by the time Allie was about 3 months old, I started to notice different ways as how Allie was looking at me. And so began an interesting, I guess, perspective of parenting that I didn't plan for. My husband and I watched Allie as she went through her natural milestones. She reached every milestone. And then by the time she was about 9 months old, Allie was supposed to start with the beautiful nonverbal gestures that we look for in a typical child, reaching for mama from the exerciser, pointing, waving bye-bye, nonverbal cues that we would just use to when you didn't have language, but you would absolutely use as socialization, I should say. So what happened with Allie was she just wasn't taking on these types of social nonverbal cues. And everyone around me who loves me so much was like, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. This is your first child. Over time, Allie really didn't develop these social cues, and she didn't develop a lot of language. And my mother's intuition just was pretty much right on, where I was afraid of the word autism because it really wasn't spoke of back then. I think it was like 1 in 250 back in 1997 that children were getting diagnosed, and they were mostly boys at the time. So we got Allie diagnosed early on, and it in turn was an autism diagnosis, and she was moderately affected by this autism, and it would be with her the rest of her life.
Now, that's good to know, Gina, that two things our listeners may want to know. Is there a cause for autism? Do we know?
As far as my family is concerned, we can look for what happened to her. Was it during birth? Is it what she eats? Is it environmentally toxic? Is it a variety of genetics? And, after going through many, many years of different strategies and things, we found that we actually, we want Allie to thrive in naturally who she is, because she is extremely smart and gifted. We don't want to take those beautiful gifts away from her, which means that's what makes her autistic. So we want Allie to live as clearly and as profoundly like everyone else in the world, who doesn't happen to have a disability, and not have life be so hard for her. But we also felt that we would meet her in the middle where she was and learn about her gifts and learn about how she communicates. We don't really spend too much time trying to solve problems over here as far as diet and taking away things and looking into genetic disposition and stuff. We believe the Lord gave us Allie, and we've been blessed to be her parents, and we will carry forth this journey with her, as she has so many beautiful things that she has taught us already. And she has so many beautiful things that I can, as a parent, expose to our world that she has to offer.
Two things you said, I believe, are extremely important. Allie is very smart and gifted. That is huge. And so those of us who are in the presence of an autistic person, I think it's incumbent on us to understand they are gifted and very smart. It's a matter of us adapting to them. They process information possibly a little bit differently than you, Marty, I, and our listeners. But let me ask you also, Gina, is the term disability, is that offensive to you?
Yeah, I think it's not offensive. I guess, what happens with the disability is using that term, it gets you the services, that you need, that she needs in her life. She has disabilities that are significant, and Allie needs caregivers and coaches and support from, we're in Connecticut, so support and from the state of Connecticut. And I think it's been wonderful as for her as an adult, for us from transitioning from the school system into social services, as how the state of Connecticut gives her support and works with families and with a budget, and how we apply that money through her disability. We can continue to, the classroom is forever here, so it's every day. We can do that with not only our own private checkbook, but also through the budget through the state of Connecticut. So we get through her disability. So I think her acknowledging the fact that it is a disability, that she can't live alone, that she can't travel in a car by herself, that she isn't safe when she's by herself, are things that John and my husband and I had to come to grips with and be really real about. And I think that that's one of the discussions that we can have here, is that there's not a way, there is a way out of this, but you can still live a beautiful life. But you are going to build a support system, and you are going to have many touch points, and you are going to not lose yourself in the process. Parenting alone and being in a marriage, and a successful marriage, is difficult enough. So added the stress to taking on the needs of a special one takes even more deeper work. It takes a practice. And that's why I say it's really a practice every day.
I can sense multiple episodes, Gina, that we're going to need with this. And maybe for this episode, we'll focus with you as the parent. I sense that those of us grandparents might be a separate episode. How can we best interact without getting in the way of the parent? But am I reading you correctly? Allie has a specific tailored, individualized education program. Is she able to function in a public school, or maybe even a private school, or do you home train her?
So basically what happens is, when Allie left her school program when she was 21 years old, she matriculates into a state, you can matriculate into a state funded program. And it's how you design it. There are many individuals who can go to work every day and go with a job coach, and there's different scenarios. Now, specifically for Allie, what worked for her was, well, what I like to call it is living her best life and going out there and shining her light to the world, where she's all the things that she's gifted with. Not only that, she's still learning, and she's also doing her art and her yoga and things that she loves. So we split the time between a day program where she goes with other individuals, her peers, adult individuals with disabilities, a couple days a week. And then we actually have caregiver or coach, that I'll call them, who come in, and a couple days a week she'll go out and she'll do her grocery shopping, she'll do her life skills work, she'll do some stuff with the business that her and I have for Mother Asana, which is her artwork. And so she'll do some mailings, and she'll take part in different activities like that. And then we'll have her go get birthday presents or birthday cards and whatever's coming up that week, or we'll do some cooking and meal prep. So there's a lot to it. When she goes to her program, it's more for her to have time to be with her peers, go on day trips, go doing different activities with them, doing group classes with them, but she's always alongside a caregiver or a coach.
And very important, several things I'm processing for what you said. Are you and John, your husband, resigned that she'll never be capable of driving? Is that one of the things you've accepted and adapted to?
Yes, that's one of the things that we've accepted and adapted to, and alongside, many of the different other things, that there's a level of acceptance in other things that she may or may not do. We don't hold out, shut things off for everything, but given her disability, yes. And Allie's level on the autism spectrum and how she's affected by the autism, she is definitely someone who needs to be, cared for and watched. Whether she's crossing the street or, she's at the mall, she can walk, 5 to 10 feet ahead of you, but you've got your eye on her.
Okay, and that's good to know. Her artistic ability, it sounds like you and John have, is it a matter of adapting to her, learning what her creative style is, and then once you've learned over whatever period of time, you build on those creative abilities such that you're developing her strengths? In a way, I'm searching for words, but this is what I'm sensing from what you and John are doing, adapting to her once you learned exactly who she is and her capability.
I think that's when, you laugh, but that's when you become the student. And when you're sure you're the teacher, you're sure you're the teacher, teacher, and you have to become the student, and becomes a real inventory of watching her, right? And watching her days and seeing what she's interested in and seeing what she likes. As parents, we could say, oh, it's time for you to learn this, and it's time for you, soon you'll be doing that. And then, wow, look here, you're really going to go over there when you go, over there and do that activity. And then I've even found with my son that it's like, well, he went over there and he wasn't interested in that. He was interested in this, so whether it's baseball versus basketball or whatever. So with Allie, we always knew she was very creative, very visual. And so she took to art right away and just developed her own style of drawing. And as a mom, I started to take notice of her beautiful artwork and how she interpreted the world through different sayings, the way she interpreted celebrations with different sayings. And I started to keep a notebook and a track of these types of things. And that's really how our blog was born. And Mother Asana, our business, was born through celebrating the autistically designed life. We really want to create this safety for families where they can learn to connect with their children, whether it be a special needs child or an adult that is looking for connection. And I think in the end, that's what we're all, as a grandparent, as a parent, as a sibling, we have this beautiful being in our presence, and we need that connection with them. And we're really looking as how can we do that? Because the attention span is so quick with Allie, I will say. So she's like a butterfly, right? So she's with you and then she's off. It's like she gives you her energy, and then maybe a couple minutes, and then she's off running to do something else. And so it was like, how can I bottle that and explain that everyone can have this and enjoy that feeling and find connection with your daughter, with your son, with your niece, with your grandchild, and feel good about yourself, that you person too, you're living and breathing here too, and keep showing up, when it just gets so hard to keep going in, and just keep opening your heart and let them show you the way.
I think it's very important what you said about connection, but also learning their skills, their talents, where they're particularly good. Did you and John go through possibly several years before you made that connection with Allie, or was it evident somewhat early on her artistic ability?
So what came first for Allie was her beautiful singing voice. So interesting. So here you had a girl who wouldn't talk, but she would sing the alphabet. And then she wouldn't talk to you, but she would sing a beautiful song from a video. And so what came first was this beautiful singing voice. And then, kind of her doing some singing at school and looking at, developing the singing. And then through the singing, we noticed that, let me say, the life before the iPad came out. She loved using markers and drawing the people that would watch her videos. So she would be, start to draw the Sesame Street characters and interpret it in her own way, and then find names for those pieces of art. So what came first was the singing, and then it went to the art. And now she'll sing, but she doesn't sing. She sings kind of not on demand, it's like when she's ready, and her art will go dormant too. So it's letting her be free and being creative in what she does. And then through school, she started a little yoga class. And from that point, she studying yoga and had my own practice, and I let her have her own practice. And now she's developed her own practice and has a beautiful yoga teacher that she works with every week, but it's her own practice, and she doesn't want to do it with mom, which is fine because she's an adult. She's an adult now, and she can make those choices.
Are you saying, at least with Allie, and I'm trying to project how it may be with other autistic people, Allie's interests, her talents shift through life? Is that what happens? In other words, she is artistic. She'll probably never lose that, but her focus might now be yoga rather than art.
It's important to realize that just like when you were young and you were, we all might have loved one thing, and then, we don't really love it anymore, or maybe we forgot how much we loved it. She has interests and she moves on. That is correct. While I do believe she'll never leave her art behind, she definitely has taken on different interests with yoga. For instance, she does not like, as of right now in this day, she doesn't like cooking or baking, but there's some kids and adults who love cooking and baking. She likes certain parts of cooking and baking, like the eating or eating the raw cookie dough, or, that type of thing. But she doesn't love creating meals that she's not going to eat. But as a teacher, as a mother, as a caregiver, as her coaches, we need to show her that there are things in life that they don't have to take up your whole day, but they're things that we all do, that we have to do, and we do them. Participating in making dinner, participating in meal prep, participating in making the fruit salad for the dinner, even though you're not going to eat it per se. As adults, it's adulting.
Do you have an autistic child, grandchild, or any other form of loved one that you are learning to adapt to, you're learning from their behavior? Marty and I are right there with you. We are going to dedicate a series of podcasts profiling parents, grandparents, caretakers, so we can learn together about autism, so we can learn how to adapt and wholly accept those with this situation in their life. We know from brief experience, these autistic people are very talented. They are very educated. They know how to process information. They just do it a little bit differently. Let's learn together how we can learn to adapt to and learn to accept these people who God very specifically created. Let's work together to influence others as well. I think what you're saying also, correct me if this is not your observation, some of us not autistic may get huge satisfaction out of doing something for, let's just pick a number, 10 years. And we may feel that, well, I've accomplished everything I can in that. I no longer have the fulfillment I used to have. So I'm going to, sometimes we use the term pivot to something different. I'm wondering if Allie and those with autistic characteristics might transition more often than we do from what used to satisfy me last year no longer satisfies me. Is that an accurate observation?
I think so, because yes, absolutely, because they're constantly expanding and we can never give up as well. So we never want to put them in a place to say, okay, we're done now. She has her, she has her yoga. She has her program. Look, in the past 2.5 years, I've had to revise her program probably 3 or 4 times because Allie's changed. And she needs to take breaks from certain things. And then she needs to go back. At one point, she was loving her swimming lessons and loving swimming. And now she's, decided she wants to take a break from that. And so we're always called on to expand. And I think that that's the beauty of living in the lifestyle, is we can all expand and stretch and keep stretching and kind of move through the incredible dance of life through mothering and teaching each other, even if it is a 15-minute connection with the child, but we keep coming back and we keep letting go as well. That's my practice every day. And I try to instill that in both of my children. One of the biggest things that really she's needed since she's left her school program and gone into her adulting is a lot of space and a lot of freedom, because she's kind of looked at me some days like, I remember getting my first job and looking at my dad and saying, is this it? Like, this is what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit here and this is what I do now? So she's sort of looking at me through this beautiful corner of her eye. I can see it and saying, Mom, is this it? And I always look at her and say, honey, no, this isn't it. There's still a lot we're going to do.
As she was growing up, did people treat her different? And did she realize people were treating her different?
Yeah, Allie's funny. Not only is she, beautiful and an artist, but she's funny. And she didn't care. She would go out and she would be, I have this in, actually, I think it's an excerpt from the book where she would be out there singing Christmas carols in July at Walmart while we were, and we would get the stares and she would just keep on singing. And my son, now you have the sibling, and, this is obviously, Ron, for, another talk perhaps, but you have the sibling who's literally hiding in another aisle, like running 2 aisles over, like, because it's, they're learning to navigate this world. And then they see the judgments that come from other people, and they see how we're treated, and they're uncertain because, my son knew it wasn't right the way people would look at us and stare at us. But yet, and he only knew of his older sister. So it was completely normal to him. But yet, as he went more into and became more mature, he began to see the judgments that were placed on us, but also he would see glimpses of kindness from the kind people, from the people who would, say, wow, she has a great voice. And, in terms of that example, wow, she has a great voice, or boy, you guys, she's having fun today shopping at Walmart, instead of being looked down upon.
Did she recognize that? And did you have to explain that some people are just that way?
Yeah, I mean, we just always explain to her she's just beautiful the way she is. Now, listen, there's also societal demands that, and constructs that we have to abide to, in when we're at the store, or say we're at a concert or somewhere, and she can't get up in the middle of a wedding and start singing, so with social stories and scripts and writing down a schedule of things have really helped her, since she's such a visual person, always having the pad and paper and writing down. And then also realizing, guess what, we're not staying. We're going to abandon the cart. We're going to leave the shopping cart. She's too loud. She's not getting this. And we're leaving. And we didn't get anything we needed. And either we'll go home and take a break and we'll go back out there and try again, or we'll try again tomorrow. And that's really what we had to do. And funny enough, during COVID, we started doing all these curbside things, which worked out beautifully for Allie on days where there might have been behavior, because we didn't have to go in and say, abandon the cart. We could say, okay, looks like you're having a rough day. We're still going to get done what we need to get done, but we're going to do a curbside order. So we're going to make our shopping list, and then we're going to pick it up curbside. Maybe at that point you'll feel like you want to pick up some Play-Doh, or pick up some popcorn for a snack. And if you don't feel like it, that's fine too. So it's really, it's like going through the moon cycle all in one day. So there's many moods, especially with a woman on the spectrum.
Gina, let me pursue that just a little bit further. I want to make certain that I am processing what you just said correctly. If I am shopping, let's just say shopping, going into, or we can only do this curbside, is that almost a day-to-day, your perception of how Allie is, that today's a day that, nope, this is going to have to be curbside, or today's a day that, nope, she can be very sociable, we can go in the store? Does it vary like that?
It does vary like that, especially for a woman. Obviously, they have their cycle. We definitely keep track of her cycle. She is extremely malleable during certain times of the month, where we take advantage of deeper teaching, so we could take her a little bit further. That's those times where I was talking to you about, where we're able to expand and we're able to try something new. And then in the more moods where we're anticipating, and we can actually see it within Allie, where the world kind of becomes too much and too loud, we give her that space I was talking to you about, and that freedom to just be, and to kind of have that downtime. We just went through it here where, she has a beautiful routine on a Thursday afternoon with one of her coaches, where she goes out to the library and she does some grocery shopping and they do some computer work. She is out for about 3 hours, and she started behaving, behavior started popping up. And so we had to kind of hone in on what was going on, and then say, maybe she needs a break. And we asked Allie, we said, do you want a break? And once we started bringing up taking a break, she would look and say, take a break. And so she would say, I want a break. She's not very verbal, so we have to really interpret through her behavior. She would say, I'm going to take a break. And then I would ask her the next Thursday, you ready for Miss Carrie to come? And she would say, take a break. So I knew it was still take a break. And then 3 weeks later, I was like, Miss Carrie's coming. And she's like, yay, and she was ready to go. So it was like, she just needed some space. She also gets bored of routines. We have to refresh the routines as well.
You
Sorry
mentioned
about that.
something that's very important to many of our listeners. You mentioned the term one of her coaches. Does she have multiple coaches, and are coaches the same as therapists?
So no, coaches aren't the same as therapists. So she has 2 coaches, and then she has a therapist who's a yoga teacher, a yoga therapist. Then she has a behavioralist on our team. And then like I said to you, I'm the head mama. And then we have the 2 girls who are in and out of the house during the week. Then she has people who are just pure respite, who are more like babysitters, who really are just going to come over while, if we have want to go out or something. And there's they're just here to literally watch her. And Allie has the freedom to go throughout her house and do whatever she kind of do whatever she'd like, but she's not required to do any she's not on a schedule of any sorts where heavy demands are going to be placed on her, say if it's a Friday night or something. So we have an entire team here that we assemble and that I manage monthly with a budget through the state of Connecticut, for which I don't get paid for, obviously. It's it is, and still it will always be my most important job.
I can think of, my goodness, I think at least 3 episodes, Gina, that our listeners are they're captivated at this point. Let's don't take the time right now, but how did you determine the team that Allie needs? And I'm very curious to know, and our listeners are very curious to know, how Allie accepted those, or did she have a bit of a trouble not processing those who did not accept her? In other words, they knew there was something just a little bit different about her. Did she interpret that as these people don't accept me? And were you concerned about her mental health, how she would process relationships and so forth? Gina, those are just some of the many topics I can think of that we need further episodes. Can I just ask you, would you consent to going just a little bit deeper into each one of these topics in different episodes? Is that something you would consider?
I certainly would. Yes, thank you. I would love to.
This is just an extremely important topic. I think there are many people who don't understand autism and how to adapt. There may be some people who, because they don't understand, don't know how a person processes information. Is just incredibly important that we not cast aside, but rather choose to adapt to people of various talents. That's just my term, how I process information.
And also, Gina, I want to say not all autism children, each child's different, right?
I would say if you've met one child with autism, you've met one child with autism. They're all different.
Yeah.
And that is extremely important. We are learning that as well. We're at the very early stages. It is not, once you've seen one autistic child, you've seen them all. They're all very different.
No.
And it's a matter of us adapting to each child. And I think it's a mindset of, do we want to? And my heart desire, Marty's, and my heart desire is, we truly from our heart want to learn to adapt. We're just learning.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I'm feeling from you as well is, and which our family journal that Allie and I are just finishing up, which we'll be launching in the fall, but we wanted to establish connection for families in a place literally where you can connect with each other. And how we were going to do that, and how was I going to do that, of course, was through Allie's art and through my muses of being her mom, and then through artistic expression, and possibly, if you're, if it moves you, a little bit of journaling or note taking. And that's really what is going to be a safe place for family, and to have activities where they can connect with their children, whether it be the special needs child or the adult. And while we adapt every day to their lifestyle and we're in it and we're in the live part of it, there's also times where grandpa just wants to be grandpa, or papa just wants to be papa with the child, or mom just wants to just be the mom, be yourself. That's really why I created this journal, is a place where there isn't a lot of instruction, there's freedom, there's a short time together, and it's a win-win.
The aspect of connection is extremely important to us, Gina. And as we get into further episodes, I would like to have that as kind of an overarching topic. But as every child is different, every child has their individualized talents, it's a matter of adapting to them and just letting them know that we are connected with them. They change, we need to adapt to. Again, everything I'm saying is what I'm learning and processing, and I don't think you would hesitate to correct me, but I just want to verbalize what I think I'm understanding, and we are looking forward to additional episodes because we're learning from you, Gina, and thank you for your heart being the super mom. And we all want to learn how to adapt to people who process information just a little bit different from us.
That's beautifully said.
Gina, thank you so much on behalf of our listeners, and we look forward to future episodes with you. Thank you for sharing.
A pleasure. Thanks, Ron and Marty.
Gina is very candid about her summary of and life with Allie. Marty, my perspective, and to our listeners who are professionally trained in autism, I want to beg your indulgence. But for me, I'm going to describe an autistic person as having a behavioral anomaly. I just don't like the term learning disability because I think these people do learn. They just process information different than those of us not autistic. There is an anomaly from my perspective of how they process information that it's up to us to learn about and adapt to them and not label, stigmatize, or otherwise shun them, which clearly has happened to Allie. We know has happened to other people. There's some people who just make an initial observation that, well, they're different, and they shun those people. And I feel certain the autistic person, will process information, their observation the same way. Well, these people just don't want anything to do with me. Marty, what are some observations you have? How can we help our listeners learn? And let me just say, Marty, before you join in, to our listeners who are joining us, we're going to dedicate perhaps 20 episodes to autism. We want autism from the parents, siblings, grandparents, caretakers perspective. I also want to interview professionals, and hopefully through this focus of maybe 20 or so episodes, we can learn better about autistic people. Marty, what are your observations? What are your thoughts about this?
Ron, I feel each child is special. God created all of us. Some do not have an issue, some do, but it's not in a way that they're not smart. They're very smart. They may be smart in just one area. They may be gifted in just one area. We want to get the message out that this is them. We want people to recognize these children as individuals with individual talents, with individual skills, and accept them And we want to help parents understand how to deal with these children. We'd love for our school education systems to be proactive with helping parents and helping parents through this time of raising children with autism.
Just so our listeners understand, Marty and I are not professionals in diagnosing or treating autism, but our heart goes out to those who are autistic. God created these people, and it's a matter of us acknowledging, accepting, and working with those with autism, and it's a matter of us understanding. So I think the more we learn, the more we know how to adapt, the better we will be equipped to work with these people who have, again, what I call a behavioral anomaly. Yes, some of them are focused on areas of their particular interest, but they're all gifted. Every one of them has a very valuable life. It's a matter of us learning to adapt to them and helping them live the most productive life they can and helping them to live their greatest potential. We hope we can warrant a 5-star rating with this podcast series. We hope you will want to subscribe. We hope you'll also want to share this podcast with your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn connections, Instagram and Twitter communities. The more we share, the more we engage with each other, the greater the opportunity we'll learn and share these opportunities with others. We hope to engage with you. We hope to learn more about these type people. And again, the more we share, the greater the opportunity we'll have to advance these people. We look forward to working with you.